want to call it to order, and and I guess I should share, or can you share the screen? You want me to do the screen sharing for the agenda?
Sure, that would be great.
And I have a lot of things open, so I'm going to apologize in advance. And by the way, one of the reasons I have a lot of things open is the house at 1537 South Wilton Place, which we support the appeal and oppose its demolition, burned yesterday. And
Okay.
so I actually am working on many things, so that's why I have an awful lot of things open that now I'm trying to look for the agenda. So sorry. Huh. Not coming easily.
See if I can find it.
Oh, here we go. Sorry. Sorry. And here it is. And there's 4 proposed community impact statements on the agenda. The mover of 3 of the 4 would be Dorit, and the 4th one would be Dan. So, you know, item 6 on the agenda, but number 4 of CIS's. Okay, Janie, it's yours.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. I am Janie Williams, the head of the CIS committee and part of UNNC. And you all know Laura Myers, the president of UNNC. And I would like to call this meeting to order. Do I have an approval of the agenda? Is everyone in agreement that this is the correct agenda for today?
I move that we approve.
Okay. Do I have a second?
One of the Dans.
Sorry, I'm just here to observe. I'm not actually on the board or anything.
Okay, welcome, Dan. Nice to see you.
You don't
Thank
have
you.
to be on the board to participate.
Okay,
Sure.
Just
And
have
I
to be a
second.
stakeholder.
I
You
second.
lit super duper.
Excellent.
I guess I'll second.
So both Dan
We
second.
have lots of support. That's good. Okay. Moving on to, does anyone have a public comment they'd like to share? Anything that is not on the agenda?
Sorry, I'm back.
Okay, we're in public comments. It looks like there are no public comments. Okay. So we can move right along to the first proposed CIS, council file number 210032. You want to take it from here, Dorit?
Certainly. I don't
And
know.
I will find that too.
Hopefully Laura is going to be able to post the motion on the screen unless everyone is already
No,
familiarized themselves
I
with this
can
motion.
just tell me again, is it 32 we're doing?
Yes. Has anyone been able to read the motions yet or read any of the documents?
Yes.
Cool. Dan and Dan, have you guys, I just don't know if you guys want me to read everything out loud, or do you want
No,
to?
it's better not to read out loud. Just make sure that we have the motions up on the screen that are being discussed.
Well, right. Yeah, this isn't the motion. Laura, you put this proposed CIS. So if you want to put up the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think just the CIS is fine. Do we need to
Okay.
put the motion up? Or I think if you explain.
I can
quickly-
only do one or the other.
Okay,
Yeah.
what, Jenny, what do you want?
I'm happy with just seeing the CIS because I can pull up the motion myself.
Right. Let's
Super
keep it
duper.
CIS, and you can just give us a little feedback and then the position and why.
First, I'm going to let you know information for the board or for this committee on motion 210032 and 210043. Both of these motions address housing for persons experiencing homelessness, Proposition HHH, and refer to findings from a LA City Controller report from September 2020. Proposition HHH, passed by LA City voters in November 2016, increased property taxes. The funds are to be used to build housing for persons experiencing homelessness. The two motions are tied to each other. 21-0032 calls for a report on Prop HHH funded projects in pre-development, how much they will cost, when they will be done. Prop 21-0043 calls for taking promised Prop HHH funding from projects that will cost too much and take too long. So that is information about these two motions. This is information that the board is going to get to help them understand what these two motions are about. So feel free to read the motion, to read the CISs, and I'll answer questions if anyone has any.
I do have a question.
Go for it.
I'm wondering, oh, there's like a feedback there. I'm wondering why are these two separate motions if they're so intertwined? If we do a report, but we don't have any action connected to it, that seems strange. And you obviously would need a report to take action. Do they make sense on their own?
I think so.
Okay.
No,
Why is
well,
that?
you have to have the report before you can. The first one calls for a report of the stuff that's in pre-development, the money that's been promised but hasn't even broken ground yet, because HHH only pays, it can only pay up to $140,000 per unit, but most units are costing around $531,000 right now. So the developer has to find money elsewhere from other housing, nonprofit, other money that's set aside for formerly homeless persons, low-income persons, or persons of different categories. By different categories, say persons who are experiencing mental health, people who are seniors, veterans, or other different qualifiers, and piece it together like a giant, complicated jigsaw puzzle of white kittens in the snow. So it could take years to build something because of how complicated the system is. And believe me, I don't want that job. I don't want to have to figure out how to do that. So these things are taking way longer than they're supposed to. We're not getting as much as we were promised. So the first one, the first motion, 32, asks for a report, a detailed report of all the pre-promised funds and how long it's going to take those developers to get everything they need and to build the unit and how much that unit's going to cost. The second one, 43, says, ask for permission to take away the promised funding for projects that have not broken ground yet. So this is in the pre-development. So if anyone's broken ground, then that's already a done deal. We can't take away their money. But if someone hasn't broken the ground, it's like, let's take away that money and spend it on a developer or somebody who can do it faster and more and economically. So you have to have
that makes sense to me. I was just wondering if for some reason one of the motions gets passed, but the other one doesn't. Do they exist in their own right and function in their own right? It was just a curiosity, but
and it's the smart curiosity. So 32 could pass, and there's just this report exist. 43 is going to be a bugaboo. It's going to be like the city attorney, and it has to decide, are we allowed to take promised funds away from a developer?
Right.
So that one's going to be really difficult. And it might wind up going to court after it does pass. At least this is when I listen to NPR, what the pundits are talking about. I am no lawyer. I don't understand anything above what I'm hearing. So 32 could pass, and that could be stand on its own, but 43 can't pass without 32.
okay. Laura has a question.
Yeah. If we were to go to the controller's website where, the report that he did or his staff did, would we be able to find the addresses within UNNC of projects that have received Prop HHH promised funding? I mean, do we know?
Most likely not. No,
So, because I will say, you know, I mean, I can identify all of the projects that we've approved that are looking for these patchwork of funds. I don't know if any of them have HHH funds, because I assume that's only for homeless.
if it's past, yeah, well, Laura, I can't answer your question. So you
I
can,
understand.
you can keep talking, but I'm not gonna have an answer for you.
Right.
You can go on to the Prop HHH website. There's a city department that handles the funding for that, and you could find
Uh-huh.
out what's been funded, what's been built. I
Right.
don't know that.
Got it.
And
Well,
I'm
well,
probably not
well,
gonna look it up before the next meeting.
right. Why I am actually asking, having just once again gone to yet another done webinar on communications policies, but one of the biggies is only state facts. Where did we get the fact that only 3 buildings have been built? That
On the controller's website,
said that. Okay.
yes.
So we have a
But it
city
doesn't say
source that
anything-
says that.
Let me finish it. You asked me a question about UNNC boundaries. I
I know.
can't answer that.
Understood.
Okay. Are there any other questions for
What is
Dory?
the city agency that administers Prop HHH?
Can you say it again, please?
You said that there was a city agency that tracked Prop HHH.
Yes, there is. And for the life of me, you're right. I should have that written down somewhere.
Maybe it's HCID.
No,
Hopefully
No.
not.
it's its own, no snide comments, please. It's its own entity. But you're right, that should be in the part where I have information for the board. So I will add that.
Is that who will be doing the report? Or who do we know who will be doing the report?
It's in the actual proper motion itself. Let me grab the proper motion.
I think it is HCID.
Yeah, I know there's its own department. Maybe it's in HID, but the Housing and Community Development Department, but I know it has its own entity that handles this. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
The Housing and Community Investment Department be instructed to report to council within 30 days of the status of all Prop HHH funded projects and their current status compared to what the originally awarded letter committed. And Dan, I apologize, you were totally right. It is a Housing Community Development Department. I stand corrected.
I'm
So, yeah,
looking
those are
at
the
their
people who've done the
dashboard
report.
right now.
They will be the ones who do the report, to answer Jenny's question.
Okay. Any further questions on this motion?
No, I just want to really thank Dorit for following all of this stuff and writing all these CISs.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I think each of us on the UNNC board and group of stakeholders tend to follow our own passions. You know, so I'm pretty up to date on land use, citywide land use things, for example. But I admire each and every board member who is following, and committee chairs and stakeholders who are following their own passions, because that's the way we have a broader look at what's going on in the city. So thank you.
You're welcome. You also know
And
that
Dan.
there was a whole mess that of Kevin De Leon's motions also had to do with land use, and I didn't write CISs on them because I thought that was what the land use committee wanted to do instead.
Right, and a conversation we could have later in this agenda, Jeannie, and
Yes,
everybody would
we
be,
can talk
how do
about
we,
future.
later in the agenda, how do we handle some of the focused, CISs, but again, Dorit, just take the compliment, please.
My culture doesn't allow me to, but thank you.
Okay, well, you kind of covered both of you kind of covered the two CISs. Is there something more you would like to say about the next one? Should we bring the next one up on the
I
screen?
can,
Yeah.
I have my own, I have concerns on the other one, actually, so.
Okay, so bring up the next one and we'll have
That would
some-
be 43.
43. Do we want to, are you going to hold off voting and vote as a group, Jenny? Or are you going to, do you want to know everything first, then vote?
That's actually a good question. What did you do last time, Laura? What do you
Well,
think?
for at the neighborhood council itself, we will have to vote separately, but I don't know that you have to do that at the committee.
I think that because we only have 4 and I think we can all hold them in our minds, let's kind of go through and then we can do voting at the end. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, you could do it at your
Any
chair.
way you want to do it.
Pleasure
Okay.
of the chair.
Let's
Okay.
move on to the next one.
Okay, can you see I've posted 43?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there anything you would like to add about this one, Dorit?
No, just, you know, it says it all there, to take away, their funding if they can't meet the requirements.
Okay.
But it sounds like Laura's got a question, so if you want to call on her.
I do.
Go ahead, Laura.
Well, for example, and again, I don't know if it was HHH funded or not, so this is just a comment about the effort it takes to put together the patchwork of funding for all of these affordable housing projects. The developer Abode, ABODE, which has the 2 sites on Adams, one on the north side at Adams and Bronson, and the other on the south side at Adams and Montclair. It took them a very, very, very long time to put together their funding, and so long that in fact the southerly one at Montclair, they actually had to pay the city money to extend the approval of that one. So, but they're under construction now. And we will get these, a pair of, it's all one administrative, just 2 sites, senior housing. So I hesitate, personally, since I know how difficult it is for these developers to get all the funding sources together and have enough money to finally build a project. I just really hesitate to take away funding, because it won't. I mean, even taking away the funding doesn't mean the project won't happen. It just means they'll lose 142,000 times, or whatever the number is, each unit, and they have to now go find other funding. So I'm concerned about that. It does seem it would be a good stick for the city to have, at least for future grants. I mean, I'm going to guess the city attorney will probably parse this out as, if they weren't warned when they got the funding, you can't take it away, but any future grants, they could have a time limit on it, but that's not for us to worry about. So while I understand why this is important, I feel we might be harming things.
Dorit, did you want to respond to that?
If you read the motion, it says to potentially withdraw letters of commitment. So that's the motion, not that's in the motion, not in the
Right.
CIS. Every day, 4 people die on the streets, while developers are sitting on millions of dollars of money.
Mhm.
And that really is, to me, the bottom line. We have got people dying.
Right.
There's got to be a better way. And if that means making people giddy up and get the money faster, or go to different funds, or be more aggressive in getting the funding, I say we do that, because we're costing people's lives.
So it's a way to apply pressure.
Yeah.
Anybody else would have a question or comment?
Well, I'm sort of with Laura. If I were trying to build a development and the city said, sorry, you're too slow, that would be like a year's worth of effort down the tubes. And that doesn't seem right somehow.
But isn't it 4 years of, I think the point that they're making is 4 years of not enough effort.
Well,
Well, this is, I think, an expression of raw anger at the badness of the situation. And the situation is bad. But I don't think that, a heavy-handed approach of, well, if you weren't able to make progress, then we don't care about all your efforts, go away. It just seems counterproductive.
So I noticed that one of the makers of the motion is Nithya Raman from CD4.
Yes, Nithya Raman. She apparently wants to get rid
So,
of all
hold on, Dan.
planning and zoning.
Hold on, Dan.
No, she doesn't, Dan.
Hold on,
Are
Dan.
you sure?
This is actually,
Yeah, she's a friend of mine.
hold on, Dan.
And
Hold on, Dan. We're going to do one at a time.
okay.
So I was bringing up that fact to just make a statement on the fact that Nithya Raman happens to be someone heavily involved from the inside on the issue of homelessness, and she has created a network of services in her area from the ground up, and has been a part of this from the public policy level. And I'm sorry, what am I trying to say? That she is a public planner by trade, I believe.
She's a city, she has
city-
a master's in city planning from MIT.
There you go. That's what I was trying to say. So I feel like this isn't just raw anger. This is coming from a place of having on the ground experience and inside experience with what is wrong at an institutional level. And for that reason, I would not discredit it as easily as saying that it's raw emotion. People have thoughts behind the things they do, even if you don't agree with their thoughts.
And this is part of Kevin De Leon has I think he had 8 motions that he submitted, all part of his plan. I forget the name of it. It's one of those cute little names of bring everyone home or something.
oh yeah,
All
he's
the
got a
other
great,
All the other ones are land use. So that's the reason I didn't do CISs on them. But they're all about building affordable housing, not just for formerly homeless folks, but affordable housing and workforce housing, and a shift of how things are currently done now. So that's, it really is it's him. Nithya just signed on these 2. And then seconded by Harris Dawson.
I have something to say, but I don't know if Dan Bear has something to say.
I just, maybe this is surface level just because I'm jumping in it and towards the end of it. I agree with the potential withdrawal. It leaves room for interpretation, and the fact that it's not a meritocracy. Just because you fill in all the blanks or get all these letters of commitment doesn't mean that you always have all the necessary things to fulfill the project. So by potentially taking that away, I think it creates a better market for people that will actually fulfill it.
Right.
Dan.
So I'm back to me.
Okay, I think we have time. How are we doing on time?
It's 12:30.
We're good.
One more comment, and then we're gonna move on. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Or do we
yeah.
have okay.
My only thought would be, my only other thought, because obviously I have a lot. I think what bothers me is that we're not proposing a solution. I mean, this seems to say that they're going to look at ones that really they think won't be ever able to deliver housing, but we don't have the word ever. That will not be able to deliver housing, but is it ever? And then I see no solution, meaning why is the city not considering, for example, a bridge loans to make for gap financing to get some of these things just going, with the expectation that the developer might continue to look for other sources of funds for the permanent financing. Because I worry about cancellations when the developer is in control of the underlying land. You know, that sometimes, like Path, which is again under construction on Montclair, they bought the land, they own it. Again, I don't know if they're using HHH funds. I don't know if we're soon to have 4 buildings and not just 3 completed. They're, you know, they've topped out, but for HHH. But if they have that HHH funding withdrawn, just making this up, they still own the land. It's not like the city could take the land back, so we would have nothing. So I'm just concerned. I would like this to have the motion and the actual final action to be a little more sophisticated and some way of objectively determining who will never be able to deliver versus who just needs some gap financing. I don't know that that has to be in the CIS, but
we're not allowed to change the motion because that's what city council is voting on.
I know, but we can change the CIS if you wanted to. I'm just expressing my concerns in the bigger picture.
So are you suggesting we put something in the CIS saying the city needs to give these people money, more money?
Well, 2 things. One, an objective evaluation. I mean, because they're saying potential withdrawal, got it, for developments that will not be able to deliver. How do they know who will and who won't? An objective, at least minimum, an objective, established objective evaluation standards. I mean, I don't know.
Isn't that what the report is, though?
And can the city consider, in an era when no one has money, the city itself helping, you know, identifying sources of gap financing while more permanent financing is happening, something to that effect. But you can disagree with me. I'm just saying.
I would welcome it if it's written out and makes sense, because I don't want to just throw words into it. I want it to make sense.
But I just have a question based on what Laura just said. Isn't the objective analysis of whether they are in a reasonable amount of time going to be able to deliver, isn't that what the report is?
Yes, and if they will be able to do it in a financially stable manner, in time and in a reasonable time and for a reasonable cost.
All right. So should I stop this share and bring up that motion? Would that help me? If that would help me, maybe. What do you guys think?
It won't hurt. I say go for it.
Assuming I can easily, quickly find it.
Let me read this. I'm going to read a sentence. In addition,
I'm sorry, was this is 43, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
From the motion, in addition to the high costs and lengthy timelines, some projects in pre-development have been granted extensions, raising questions as to whether they will actually come to fruition. While almost all of the funding has been awarded, a substantial amount of it is in the pre-development phase, meaning that it has received conditional awards and therefore has not been drawn down upon.
This is interesting. It continues and says that the letters of commitment are for 2 years. So did they expire after the 2 years?
Well, they've been granted extensions.
So do you have a sense of the extensions? Are they the extensions of the funding or extensions of their land use approvals, if you know?
I have no idea about the land use proposal. It's it granted an extension of, like, okay, you didn't meet it in 2 years. You still have that pot of money. At you will still be awarded that pot of money. Here's an extension to give you more time to find the rest of the funding.
So extensions have already been granted. A couple years have gone by and they want to check in at this point to see if progress is being made, and if not, then they want to be able to hold these companies accountable.
Right.
I don't see any problem with that.
Yeah, and just
funding to an agency that can actually finish the project.
right.
And as far as the PATH project you talked about, Laura, I'm guarantee you it has HHH funding.
The abode or the path?
The
Path
path,
does.
I can
Yeah,
guarantee you.
yeah,
path
but they're
does.
moving forward quickly. So, you know, that's meaning we might have 4 buildings instead of 3 shortly. Yeah, and I'm gonna guess that the one on Washington by my house also has some of this funding because it's homeless seniors. So half of it is homeless seniors, but I'm guessing. Okay. You know, it's just really, it would be so cool if there was a czar in charge of putting patchwork of funding together, but that's not how it works. I mean, there really is a patchwork. There's different deadlines for different applications to different agencies. Some are local, some are state, some are federal, some are private. Some of it is tax credits. So, you know, and they all have different things, because I know that UNNC over time has been asked to provide letters to this entity or that entity demonstrating our support for this project or that project so they can meet a funding round. So but I'm okay with whatever you guys want to do.
Hey, I'm looking at the dashboard of HHH projects. Have you guys seen this?
No.
It's actually pretty awesome. I put a link to it in the chat to.
Well, here, let me ask you this, Janie. Do you want me to make Dan a co-host and let him just share what he's looking at?
You know what? I think
that's not our normal. It's not pre-posted in the agenda packet.
Yeah, he put it in the chat, which we can click on it if we choose. I think that's a bit more appropriate.
Okay.
Only you guys can
The
click on
chat
it.
isn't visible by everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't do a.
No, Janie, you have to copy and paste it, or I do, and make it visible to everybody.
I think that's fine. If you want to copy and paste it and make it visible, that's fine. Then anyone who wants to click on it can click on it.
I remember the last time we had a CIS meeting, we didn't discuss the merit of the CIS, but we discussed the ability of the CIS to move forward and let the board decide on the merit. Forgive me if I'm confused on what the purpose of this committee actually is.
Let me clarify the way this is supposed to work. The point of this meeting is to people who attend this meeting can ask questions and kind of get into a short discussion. This one probably already went in a bit long, of the merits. And the way I see it, the purpose, the positive of that is that it allows us to uncover deeper things we might not have seen, and prepares you for the larger meeting where these issues might come up. It does not mean that because we personally disagree with your CIS, that we can therefore vote to not bring it to the board. It will go to the board unless there's something structurally wrong with it. It's not up to this committee to decide whether it goes to the board or not for our personal opinions.
Yeah, Janie, I think you're correct, but I also think as a chair and a committee members, remember our thing, the way UNNC works is everyone who attends a meeting is a member of the committee. We only appoint the chairs. If everyone agrees, and that's not this circumstance, but if everyone agrees that whatever the it is, the proposed CIS needs work, let's take a month and work on it and bring it back. We're allowed to do that too. It doesn't have to go straight to board.
If the CIS needs work in the sense that there's something wrong with the CIS,
or everyone in the room has a different opinion. Remember, you're trying to
I'm sorry. If everyone in the room has a different opinion, that does not affect whether the CIS goes to the board. The purpose of this committee is helping people bring their CISs to the board. We do not stop people from bringing their CISs to the board because of our personal take on the CIS.
Okay, but we're either making a recommendation to the board or we're simply moving it forward.
No, we're not making a recommendation. We're helping people get CIS to the board. That's it.
Pleasure of the chair. I mean, you could choose to do it a different way, but that's fine. But so we're not going to be voting.
It's her committee. She's doing it that way.
That's the way. That's the way I do it. So when we vote, we're just saying this is a, you know, this is a CIS. Actually, I don't even know if we need to vote.
Well,
But
I think we
if we're
don't
just-
vote if that's what you're doing. That's
Yeah.
fine.
We're just basically saying the CIS is looking good in terms of a CIS period. We're not, our personal opinions don't contribute to whether it gets to go to the board or not. And then when it gets to the board, we get to vote and say we're for it or against it. That's how it works.
And community members are able to come to that and weigh in as well.
Yes, for all community members here, you are welcome to come to the board meeting and give your opinion there.
Okay, I'm digressing for a second. Dan, did I post everything you had sent me? Because I'm having trouble tracking in the chat.
Yes, you posted one of them twice, but yes.
Okay, cool. All right.
Okay, moving on to the next CIS.
All right, I've been doing too much talking, guys. The next one has nothing to do with homelessness. It has to do with infrastructure. It is
Okay,
21-0039. The maker of the motion, the maker of the motion is Nuri Martinez, Council District 6. It is seconded by Curran Price, Council District 9, which is right next door to us. The subject of the motion, capital improvement expenditure plan, infrastructure conditions, equity, low-income communities of color.
Okay,
So
I'm sorry, I am looking for it while you're talking.
Background for the board. This isn't part of the CES, but this is just background for the board and the committee here to know. City services like street cleaning, sidewalk repair, and large item pickup are not distributed evenly across all parts of our city. In addition, parks, libraries, and pedestrian amenities are lacking and or in disrepair in lower income parts of Los Angeles. This motion asks for a detailed plan on what communities are in need, on what, that should be which, communities are in need of infrastructure improvements, and a blueprint on how to ensure improvements are, in quotes, prioritized equally, particularly for low-income communities of color, end of quotes. And that I took straight from the motion. That's the reason it's in quotes, because, you know, that's how it's supposed to be. And then you guys could see the, now, thank you for finding it, Laura. You guys can read the proposed CIS.
So
yourself.
sorry. I think going forward, when I name these things or rename them from you or whoever, I need to put the motion, the actual 21 dash whatever as the very first thing so I can see it.
Yes.
Right now,
Right.
people are
Right.
reading, so let's let them read.
Okay, is everyone ready? Dan, are you still reading? I just want to check in. Are you ready? Okay.
Right.
Okay, are there any questions for Dorit? No questions? Any comments?
I'm finding it really hard to follow the board packet or the meeting packet. It would be really helpful if the agenda hyperlinks worked.
Okay, Dan, I'm really sorry, and they don't, but it's not useful to say that. I can't make it work now. And
No, next time, I mean.
and the items are in the packet.
I'm
So Dan-
I'm having trouble finding them.
So
But they're
Dan, you're looking for the
packet.
motion?
Or it's up on the screen anyway.
The CIS is on the screen, and if you go to the, there's a link to the packet that you can click on that does work in the agenda.
So Dan, you're looking for the motion itself, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to put that up?
No.
Okay.
I was trying to find it in the packet, but I just gave up and searched for it, and I'm doing it from the city site now. I mean, I know it was there and I found it before, but I'm just so disorganized.
So this CIS aside, we're going to have at UNNC either April or May, so it's down the road a little bit. Capri Maddox, who's the head of the city's new civil rights and something and equity department. I forgot what the middle thing is. And so regardless of what happens with this, we should kind of be talking to her about that a little bit too. So, but that's not till the spring.
I have no questions. This is
Obvious. Yeah.
obviously good. I don't.
Jenny, have you been able to look at the report itself? I'm just asking you because I know you take your kids to the Leslie Shaw Park.
No, I haven't.
Because you have absolutely no time in your life because you got two very small children who are running and screaming and walking.
Yeah.
You'll never have a chance to read it, but
Yeah.
one day you should.
Yeah, someday. Someday I'll get there. Aware of the issue, for sure.
I was actually pretty shocked to see how bad we are UNNC area as far as parks go. After reading their report, and it's scandalous, I tell you.
Yep.
Well, what's also interesting, Dorit, is that, God, it has to be 25 years ago, the state legislature declared that schools are essentially also recreational facilities for the communities, that they're joint community use. And as a result, by and large, the city doesn't have authority to do land use approvals for them. And I don't see that our schools are consistently open. You know, one of them is the Johnny Cochran, you know, the fields are used for soccer, but most of our schools are just locked up tight. Yep. And when students are not present. So it's something to think about.
Yeah, it's complex.
It is because who's going to pay for the security and would the neighbors who live adjacent to a school enjoy having their weekends quiet? I mean, you know, it's very complex. But I'm
gonna, Dan, do you have a comment or a question about this one? Because I think we need to move.
You know, I'm looking at the motion. The motion seems fine. I'm not sure that I'm not sure if I understand everything about the CIS yet, but in general, CISs don't have to be verbose. They can just be support or oppose. And I think that the motion is worth supporting.
Are you saying that I got too much word? And I'm cool, honestly. I think that if you think I got too many words in the CIS, I'm more than happy to get rid of a paragraph or two.
Oh, it's almost universal. Everything written by man could be shorter.
Well, I'm not man, I'm woman. But so if anyone thinks there's too much words in there, it might even make our board meeting go faster. I'm more than happy to get rid of a paragraph if you think it's unnecessary or a sentence. Totally cool with that.
Well, I have to say, this is such an important issue that on this CIS, I think you don't need to make it shorter. Maybe the others. I mean, not that they were unimportant, but the idea of equity for our community in all of these realms, not just parks, is key. So I don't mind it at this length.
Yeah, it's not, I don't find it particularly long. It's fairly, I think we're good. And CISs can be short, or if the writer of the CIS wishes to go on a little bit to send a message to the city, they are also welcome to do that. So I think this is great. Let's move on. Let's go to unless is there any last questions? Okay, let's move on then to the next CIS.
Okay, so Mr. Cagle's opinion is really keep it simple. So that CIS is what we put on the agenda itself. So I'm looking back for the agenda, so sorry. And putting it back up on the screen, because what's on the agenda is the proposed CIS. Do you guys all see that? And what Dan is talking about is that apparently all of these links on the council motions are actually links only to my own computer and nobody else can see them. So I do have to find a different way to do the links. It may be that I have to just link to the clerk's council file page, and then people have to find their own motions. Or just put them in the packet and call it a day.
The link at the top still work though.
Yeah.
To the
Oh
whole
yeah, the packet works, but where it says, I can see what he's talking about. Local temp,
Right.
that's my computer.
Okay, that's okay.
Laura, can you make it? Laura, make it bigger, please.
Sure.
Yeah, we can work on that for next time. Let's move on. Dan, do you want to present your CIS?
Well, yeah, this is a long-standing annoyance, loud cars. I've had many times a car has driven by with muffler that is so loud that it sets off car alarms. And I think the impetus for this particular motion was they're looking for a way to try to make it easier to crack down on street takeovers. Are you guys familiar with that phenomenon?
Okay, the street donut thingies that happen down the street from us.
They're organized events, and they're not just an LA thing. They're all over the country now. And in fact, they're probably all over the world. But they're held by people who like noisy cars, and so it just so happens that if we make it easier to enforce limits on noisy cars, that will help reduce these unsafe, dangerous events. And so I trust that the author of the motion knows what he's doing, and so I just like to simply support it. And the CIS seems fine. I actually can't find the draft of it. All I see is the agenda.
That is right. Remember, Dan, you had said that's all. Keep it simple. So I did. Just left it where it was.
It also says see draft and agenda packet.
I know, because.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question. Do we know who the maker of the motion is?
Yes. Hang on, because I have the motion.
So does it actually say that what it's asking LAPD to
Here, I'll share the actual motion.
Okay. Thank you.
You guys see that? So it's Paul Krikorian and Mitch O'Farrell. Do you need me to make it bigger, or can you guys?
Yes, please. Can you make it bigger a little bit?
Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
Well, since I constantly yell at people to get a muffler, this kind of does it for me. as a motion?
So it's a complicated issue. The city cannot actually make the limits any stricter because it's preempted by state law. So that's why it's find out possible ways. So it's, they can't just solve the problem in one motion. They have to think about it.
And dare I ask, are they using Harvard, whoever they are, as a street racing corridor? Since both Dorit and Dan live on that street?
Washington.
Not per se, but
Washington, got it.
when the events at Washington and Western end, sometimes they end up coming down Harvard for no particular reason that I can figure.
Because it's a beautiful loop.
Yes,
That's
for
why I was
sightseeing.
asking.
What evidence, if any, is there that cutting down on or police being able to enforce mufflers will reduce the amount of donuts in street racing?
Well, as I said, the events tend to be held by people who like loud cars and have very loud cars. I don't know that there is evidence, but it seems rather plausible.
Personally, that doesn't connect for me. I think it's great if we can get rid of loud mufflers, but I don't see that leading to a reduction in street racing. He's not going to say, "Oh, my muffler is gone. I'm not going to street race or do donuts now."
No, it's more like if the police have found somebody who participated in one of these things, but they don't have enough to get him on that, they can go, "Well, look, your muffler's loud," and get him to fix it.
Well,
And that's it's just one little tool in their toolbox.
And so we're asking for a ticket that will require a larger financial.
Nope.
Um,
look at the motion.
Yeah, it just says look for new. I'm just wondering because there is an issue with, police profiling and, Black and brown people ending up in jail over minor things. So I'm wondering what is the actual goal right now? It looks I'm not clear if it's just for a stronger ticket because of a muffler, or are we actually trying to get people in jail on this? What is the?
No. By the way, AB 1824 that's mentioned in the motion has more or less been repealed. So now we're back to fix-it warnings.
okay.
I'm asking more clearly, Dan, is it clear from the motion to you what exactly we are saying when we say we want to give the police department the go-ahead to enforce this more strictly? What exactly does that mean? Or is that left vague?
Nobody knows how much authority the city actually has. So this motion is to find out what authority the city might have for dealing with noisy mufflers.
Laura.
Well, I have two separate thoughts. So you guys may be aware that our pal Jeff Camp now works for Criticorian. So we could ask him if he would log into our meeting at the time for this to present that council office's thinking. But I also wonder if the bigger issue isn't the noise. I mean, I think that's an issue. But if the bigger issue is the street takeovers, the donuts and all that stuff, the question would be, and it can't be a CIS because we're not commenting on something that's a motion at this point, do we also want to have UNNC write a letter to our own council member asking him to explore methods to help curb the street takeovers? But Janie, I understand your concern. about the profiling that might end up happening for either of these instances. So, but my latter thought has nothing, is not a CIS, obviously. I don't know.
I mean, in our neighborhood, to be perfectly blunt, people have break-in robberies and call the police and the police never show up. So I'm just thinking about the realities of what this means. Are we really making our streets safer, or are we making the streets less safe for Black and brown people? That's not clear to me at this point.
Well, I will say, I will say two things. One, as you know, I'm mostly in the avenues every day, all day long, where I work at a house. And I'm only home in the middle of the night, it seems, these days. And in the middle of the night, I can hear the street, the sounds, and it sounds like it's motorcycles, and it's probably on Washington Boulevard, because I'm off of Washington too. So, but I'm hearing it at 11 and 12 at night, and then I fall asleep because I'm exhausted. But I imagine it disturbs the peace and quiet of people who, with COVID anxieties, are already having trouble sleeping. So,
Oh no, I'm all for,
yeah,
you know,
noise abatement.
we have the street racing here, and it's dangerous.
Yeah, and that too.
And we called the police to have them respond, but they don't respond.
Right.
So my question is, if they don't respond to
Yeah.
actual dangerous events,
Right.
what is the point of really focusing in on giving them more? I'm just confused about whether this is actually going to help anything. That's my
right.
So you don't trust the police, and giving them more authority sounds like a bad thing to you. Is that a fair statement?
I think that we have to be very careful about the kind of authority we give to police, and I don't think a blanket statement about trusting police makes any sense in this day and age.
Right. So, I mean, it is communities of color who also have to listen to these mufflers. So, you know, or hope their kids stay out of the way of an accident when there's somebody spinning donuts and they crash into a bunch of kids playing on the corner.
I mean, the
grassy lot. Yeah.
is dangerous. I'm just not sure that a stricter law about mufflers is going to change that. But, you know,
I actually don't think it's very fair to say it's one that either you hate cops and love people who drive poorly, or we're making it to one or the other. And it's not. I have a great deal of respect for law enforcement. I'd like the mufflers to be quieter. I'd like people not to be stereotyped. And sometimes it's not very cheap to be able, if you buy a really older car, the muffler is just going to suck anyway. So I think that by saying you're either one way or another is completely unfair. I understand where Jenny's coming from. This motion, which in itself is not a bad motion, and I do support it, this motion probably will not fix the donut situation. That's a whole nother thing that I know law enforcement is working really hard at trying to infiltrate some of those clubs so they know when things are going to happen, because once they already start happening, by the time cops get out here, they're already gone. So this motion isn't going to cure the donuts, but this motion itself is not a bad idea.
So would you guys like to know that my older sister was a member of a car club that did this, well, not donuts, on Van Nuys Boulevard in the 1960s? So
I wouldn't mind knowing if it wasn't already 103.
Citizen with 3 children who are all doing well, but she definitely cruised Van Nuys Boulevard when she was a teenager. So.
But very good to know. I am glad that I know that, Laura. I think that if there's no more questions, I think we're ready to move on.
Okay, I'm stopping the share.
Okay.
Okay.
There's one thing I'd like to say about all the motions, which is there's kind of a clear format that we might want to adhere to, that has the address at the top, it has like a very clear, this is the motion, this is our stance on it is for or against. There's just kind of a clear design that would be nice to have all the motions aligned with. And so I can help all the motion makers kind of just get it into that format quickly.
Can it be quickly, like tomorrow?
Yeah, you not now. I'm saying
No, but I mean, in other words, so I can, because unlike this agenda where I just did summary, on the governing board agenda, it has to be on the agenda, printed on the agenda.
Yeah, we can do that quickly today and have it done for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Jenny, do you want to give us a template that we'll use moving forward?
Absolutely. I apologize for
Super duper.
being out of it this month.
Well, duh.
Well, exactly. All of it. Now, I have an announcement. The new year 2021 starts on February 1st.
Okay.
It didn't start in January.
Okay.
Welcome to Happy New Year's, February 1st.
Dory, did you have something you want to add, or?
No, I just wanted to finish with this before we move to something else.
Okay, yeah. Oh, okay. So that was that. I think that all of them are CISs that can make it to the board. They're clear in their intent, and our personal opinions don't really matter. It matters what the board says. And do we have anyone who wants to talk about future CISs at this point?
Well, I just want to sort of semi-clarify how we should handle, well, for land use cases, I mean, what we've been told by the city attorney we need to do from planning and zoning, just to get into commission meetings with the ability to speak for more than 1 minute, is that we pass motions that are resolutions. So we've been doing that for a couple of years now, where we have the long whereas, and those resolutions that UNNC passes on cases or citywide proposals, but anything with land use, the city attorney has also said those are CISs, just file them. So I don't know that that we can readily undo any of that, to be honest.
I'm not sure what you're saying with that.
So in other words, UNNC passes, when we need to speak at a commission or city council, the city attorney on land use only, the city attorney a couple of years ago interpreted a city council motion from a couple of years ago that granted neighborhood councils the ability to have 3 minutes or more time, essentially more time than the general public at commission meetings and at city council. In order to get the more time, we have to pass motions that are actually resolutions in a specific format. So we've been doing that for a while. And they have now opined and ordered that those constitute community impact statements. And all we have to do is summarize them and file them with a CIS. And again, we've been doing that for a while. And I don't know necessarily how easy it is to intersect this process, is what I'm trying to say. Because we have to do them before there are council files. You do them when there's case numbers for the matter. And the timing of bringing them back multiple times to a governing board, it might not always work. So I haven't been bringing them back as CISs, is what I'm trying to say. I've just been doing what the city attorney has already said we are to do. This is not new information.
Okay, so
let me explain. So for example, we have had a city council plum committee meeting on this situation that's become really horrible with the burned down house a week ago Thursday. And that was a deferred hearing. So it was originally scheduled in September, And we were just told that the CIS that we had filed in March to the Planning Commission with a resolution was the CIS that the clerk was moving forward. The end. So in effect, we did a CIS. So I'm getting clerk emails about that council file. Similarly, we have a Planning and Land Use Management City Council Committee hearing this coming Thursday on another matter that UNNC voted on in February with a resolution. And that's already considered, because it was filed with the Planning Commission. It's already considered a CIS.
Okay, so these are things that have already been voted on by the board.
Oh, yeah, in detail.
So you just want to turn them into CISs and file them as
Well, the
CIS.
city attorney is saying they are CISs.
Okay,
Yeah.
but you just want to file them as CISs.
Well, we have no choice. That's the way they get filed.
So I think that's a separate thing from what we're doing here, because
I think so too.
in its own world and it's already been voted on.
Right.
This is just trying to get board members to get
Right.
their CISs to the board. So I think you keep doing your own thing with that.
Right.
That's,
But then
yeah.
another example, and we are bringing, I think we voted on this in January. I'm losing track of what we're bringing forward, what we've already done. There's a citywide motion about, quote, structural demolitions. And we did vote on a resolution at the January 7 meeting. We didn't call it a CIS, we called it a resolution. My question is, should we convert it to a overt CIS? That one is a council file. Or are we just good to go, having done we did a vote and a bullet point thing, is all I can say. A bullet point thing.
I think retroactively, I think it's fine if it's already been voted on by the
Right.
board and passed. That's fine. If going forward, if we want to just clarify that we are also turning the resolutions into CIS files, just so the
Okay.
board knows that that's, we
So
can just
I mean,
say
it's just in a way of agendaing it, I guess. We should just, maybe the agenda should be resolution and CIS.
sure.
And then, but kind of leave it off of this committee.
Yeah.
But I should check with you on some things. I mean, if they're going to do something on processes and procedures, changing the municipal code. I don't think the board wants to spend 10 or 15 minutes talking about that. I think only the wonks at Planning and Zoning Committee want to hear about that. Right? I mean, but it's up to you. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to intersect some of this stuff, because again, that's a citywide, on a wonky basis, what they're going to do is make, instead of having multiple different amounts of time where hearing notices are sent out, sometimes there's 10 days, sometimes there's 24 days, they're compromising at 15 days. I mean, they're changing the municipal code. They're changing the municipal code about how the different kinds of cases and how big of a circle around the property site the notice would be. I don't, we love talking about that crap at Planning and Zoning.
Well, since Planning and Zoning already has a space to talk about it, and you already have a tradition of having resolutions coming out of Planning and Zoning, and then they go to the board, so they go
Correct.
before the board members. I don't think that needs to intersect.
Okay.
I think you just keep doing what you're doing, is my opinion on that.
Okay.
Just because I want to have this be a space for other board members to bring other kinds of CISs to the board. Dorit has her hands up. Go ahead, Dorit.
This is just for my understanding, please. We approved 3 motions in the 3 CISs in the January meeting. Have those been sent to the city yet? What is the process? Does the maker of the CIS have to take an action? I just need to know the route and how, because I'm going to have 3 more this month and probably more in the future. I just need to know what I need to do and how I need to make sure things move forward.
And that is a question, I think, for Janie, because I feel like I don't want to be the person filing all of these things. I mean, some days I can sit down and do it.
So no one's filed the 3 that we already approved?
I don't know. I did not.
So, okay,
And
when
some
I
days
we know.
when I thought that, okay, I understand that when I am here, I've taken on that responsibility, but I was out. So I thought that that was being taken over.
By me. And
Yeah,
then
or
I didn't do it.
or
Yeah,
whoever
so-
else on the executive committee,
So,
because remember
Doreen-
we talked about getting
No,
other
no,
people.
we have
on there.
we have 5 people, and
Mhm.
you are one and I am one, and off the top of my head, I don't remember who the other 3 are, but we sent all that into the city and presumably they got their credentials, but I guess we need to remind ourselves who the other 3 are. And Dorit, I guess the simple answer is so sorry. Yeah, I think you need to bug us and find out who, I mean, the question would be on any given one, who will file it? And, right? You know,
I
who
think
can?
that I can be the one responsible, but when when I actively am out, I
Yeah.
need the executive committee. So that would be Laura. Either
The
you
executive committee doesn't have authority to file.
wait, either you, because you do have authority to
Right.
file, or you pass that off to one of the other people that does have authority to file. There's 3 other people besides you and me, right?
Yes, there
So-
are. And
So
remember who, Dorit, were you one of them? I mean, again, there were 3
If I
other,
was one of them, it would be done by now. So I'm not one of them.
well, no,
so-
were you one of them, but Dunn did not follow up with you to give you?
I was
any
not one
credentials?
of them. I
Okay.
know that there was already 3 other people who had authorization, so therefore there was no space for me to get authorization.
Got it. Maybe we need to rethink that.
I know Miriam, no,
One-
Morel might have
one
been one of them.
approach- One
ahead.
approach that some neighborhood councils take is they designate who's going to file.
No, we do, Dan, we have 5 filers.
Right,
And
no, I
I'm
mean,
just saying off
when
the
they,
top of my head, I don't remember who the other 3 are.
But
I
Dan
think-
had a point besides that, so.
Yeah.
what I was talking about is when the CIS is voted on by the board,
In the
they
moment.
also say who is going to file.
That's a good idea.
that's a very good idea. So it's very clear.
Exactly. Okay.
So the 3 that passed, I'm gonna go back to those.
I know what they are.
3 that passed, what should I do to make sure they get filed?
I would say, Laura, can you please pass
Yeah.
that off to one of the other filers for right now, because I'm still, like, I
Yeah.
can't go back.
Are you
at this
saying you're
point.
more loopy even than me right now? Because I'm fairly loopy myself.
You know, it's loopiness combined with 0 childcare
Got it.
and 2 small children.
Okay,
And that,
well, let me
not a
just say
good
this,
combo.
rather than me at the moment trying to toss it up, I will just do it. I mean, because at this point, because what if Dunn didn't, I mean, Dunn did give you, Janie, Dunn did give you the credentials, right? For sure.
Your screensaver.
Okay, baby.
Okay. So Dorit, you and I will just, I will get it done, and then I will verify with the Department of Neighbor Empowerment that the other 3 filers got their credentials, because there's no point in saying so-and-so, whoever they are, must do the next one if they still don't have the ability to do so. I mean, we turned in the paperwork, but as you know, we've been having all kinds of issues on the Dunn side.
I think some of the folks were people who had the credentials before,
Mhm.
yeah, so people probably already outstandingly have them. But we'll
All right.
find out. We'll
Okay.
find out. If somebody wants to give it up, I'll take it for as long as I'm still on the board.
Okay.
Okay. I think, any last thoughts?
Well, I do wonder, back to the future CISs, I feel like any given agenda is always crowded these days. So I wonder if you will think about it, Janie, if it was not on the agenda for today, is there a quantity that sort of maxes out in a given month? And because if we try and do 10 CISs on top of many other things, it's problematic. And yet the goal is to welcome, open our arms and welcome these.
Well, I have a suggestion. I'd be interested to hear what others here think. My suggestion is to cap it out at maybe like say 4 is always okay. And then if there are more that are pressing and people are just like, this has to happen this month, we can check in with you and check and see how the agenda is looking
Right.
and see if we have room for more.
Right.
Does that
Because what I'm trying to do at this point is have the 6:30 to 7 p.m. time be presentations or receptions and not business, because we don't get quorum. Even though everybody's working from home, they still somehow don't arrive on time. And so we don't have quorum. And so having something interesting in that first 30 minutes and then declaring the meeting starts at 7 is working out well, but it then defers the, it started late anyway. It seems like we always have at least one land use matter. We've been having this whole series of appointing to vacancies that should go away. I don't think, unless somebody raises their hand and says, you know what, you guys were looking for somebody to represent Jefferson Park and nobody's done it. I'll do it. I don't see us having that on the agenda because it just takes so much time and we'll just live with one vacancy for a few months until the election. But I think Greg's opinion is that no thing, whether it be planning and land zoning or CIS or anything else, should be more than 30 minutes. No one category should exceed 30 minutes.
Well, I think that with 4 CISs, that should not exceed 30 minutes. And I think that if there's more pressing CISs, that can be like, we can check in and see how the agenda is doing, if there's other pressing things on the agenda or not.
And Dorit's idea that we get the material farther in advance and get it therefore out to board members farther in advance, and somehow very, very nicely lecture everybody to please read it, right?
Yeah.
Would
To
also
say
be
this,
useful.
Okay,
Sorry,
since you're speaking about mine, if we've seen it, if we get the information out to people, they will take the time to read it. We just have to get it to people. And if we get it 2 or 3 days ahead of time and just make that the job of the VP, whenever this VP gets on board. If people have the information, they will, no, let me finish, Laura. They will read it and they will be ready to vote, because we waste so much freaking time discussing stuff and going back and forth that if people had the education beforehand, we wouldn't have to waste that much time. And CISs are important. I don't think we should look at limiting them. I think we should be, selective maybe, but I don't think we should limit because this is what makes our government run. And we are a body that is supposed to be advising our elected officials. And I do think it's important that we do indeed advise them.
Dan has his hand up.
Go ahead, Dan.
So my remark about CIS length is related to the time spent in the board and the reading of the CIS by the board members. I have spoken in front of quite a few neighborhood councils about various environmental CISs. And I eventually realized that most of the time the board didn't read the materials ahead of time, even if they had them. And that one way to counteract this, or to compensate for it rather, was to make the CIS itself very short and large print. And also I found that if I put too many details in, one board member or another would take issue with one of the details. And so leaving out details that weren't strictly speaking necessary to motivate the CIS turned out to be a plus. When you're speaking to people who agree with you, layer on the details, they'll love it. But when you're speaking to a heterogeneous audience of people who don't all agree with you, simpler is better. So that's sort of just some advice from somebody who's gotten a bunch of CISs passed in various places.
That's good advice. Thank you, Dan.
So Jane, I'm sorry, I have one last, I know it's supposed to be done. If the various committees also are kind of thinking about CISs, do you want them to develop them and just shoot them over to you to show up in that, since your meeting is the last one of every month? Do you want, like, if the environmental committee that Dan co-chairs wants to do a CIS on whatever, some sustainability issue, should they agenda the first discussion, which can be lengthier, at their committee, and then shoot it over to you for a 7-minute at your committee to move on to the board?
You know, I think we should make the process as easy as possible for people. People are busy and have complicated lives. So I would put that at the discretion of the committee itself. If they want the CIS committee's help, we are here to help. I will send out again that the kind of format that maybe we can all just use the same format would be helpful. But other than that, if they've discussed it in their committee, they put it in the format, you know, let me know so that
Sure.
so we don't end up with too many CISs that month. But otherwise, I don't think they need to go through the process again. Let's make it easy for people to get CISs out.
Okay, so given that not all committee chairs are on the board, if you'll compose that, I'll just make sure that all the chairs also have it.
Okay.
Because you can chair a committee without being a board member, if you recall.
Okay.
And-
I'll write up I sent something out a long time ago about,
Yeah, you did.
and then we should probably send a new one.
Right. And
Yeah.
and then so what I will say to committee chairs is, if your committee wants to consider doing a CIS, you have to agenda it properly to the committee agenda. That's for sure.
Right.
But
Right.
it can move forward from there to the board, but we coordinate with you in advance. We'll just let you know.
I guess the thing is, if they don't agendize it, but like, let's say in their committee something comes up that
Mhm.
they want to turn into a CIS, then that could be then they could use our committee to
Got it.
agendize the CIS to get it to the board.
Perfect.
May I ask a question on that, please?
Okay.
Assuming a committee says.
I have a doorbell. I have to walk away for a sec. Sorry, go ahead.
Say, I'll use homeless committee since my motions are, I've mostly been about homelessness. If the homeless committee says, we don't wish to do CISs, or they say, we want to see all the homeless CISs and we want them to come from this committee, are we cool with doing that? Or do you still want to have the ability for someone to bring a CIS to you, Jenny, even if it bypasses a committee?
I do, just because I want to encourage people who feel passionate about topics, even if they can't be on a specific committee. I want anyone who's passionate about a certain motion to be able to turn it into CIS. So I would say, if someone brings a CIS to our committee and it's a homeless issue, and for some reason the homelessness committee doesn't agree with it, you can definitely say that at the board meeting and say, this is not, the homelessness committee is not in support of this. But I just want to make it easy for people, and so either way, they can either go through their specific committee or through the CIS committee.
Cool. Can I ask a follow-up on that one too, please? Say it's a motion for a committee that meets early in the month, like Rec and Parks meets second Monday, and there might be a motion that comes out the third Wednesday to the city council, might be submitted, but somebody wants to be able to write a motion on that. So there might be a chance that we have to skip a committee and just send it straight to you.
That's exactly what the CIS committee is for.
Right.
So you
Super
don't
duper.
exactly.
We've timed the meeting night, even though we've had 2 specials. But the reason it's the fourth Thursday of the month is it gives Janie the time as the chair to turn around and give to me agenda items for the first Thursday of the month board meetings.
But it's the last possible moment to do
Right,
that.
the last possible
so
moment to do it.
Motions
Because technically, not that anyone follows this either, and we've, Greg is always bothering me to make everybody follow the procedures, and I'm always saying, no, let's do it as best we can. But in theory, board members are supposed to tell us, executive committee, the president, on the Friday before the governing board, any items that need to be on the agenda. So that's why we timed this standing night of fourth Thursday of the month for CIS. So giving Janie the ability on the Friday morning to tell me. I mean, obviously here I am and I'm listening and stuff, but.
Right. Thank you for your flexibility, Laura. I appreciate it. It's crazy times, everybody.
Yeah,
Okay, I think we're good, right?
I think we're good. I think we're good. I mean, I'm what I'm hearing, because I had to walk away. I'm sorry, the doorbell rang and I had a delivery. Is that the committees can, to sum up, the committees can schedule, committee participants and chairs can, if they've already had their meeting and something comes up, call Janie and put it on this CIS agenda. It's flexible to go either way.
Yes.
And in terms of planning and zoning, John and I will have the flexibility. I mean, if it's a citywide issue that has time for comment, I think we should do it as CISs, even if it comes out of committee, but as CISs and not case resolutions.
Okay.
I think we need to follow the rules, you know.
Okay. Sure.
Well, and the difference would be if it's a case that's going to a commission versus a citywide ordinance change that's going to go to council.
I have actually one last question for Dory and Dan. Do you prefer that I just send over a sample CIS to you for you to just put this? It's like a really quick structure to add, or do you prefer that I do it?
Jenny,
Oh,
send it over, I'll do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like writing.
Awesome. Yeah, it's just to, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? Just how it looks, the formatting. That's what I'm trying to say.
And you'll
The
have it to us.
It's not
UNNC
totally there yet.
template.
Jenny,
Template.
you'll have it to us in the next, by the end of today.
I can send it to you right now. I have Dorit's email, Dan. Let me just check and make sure that I have your email address.
It's DANK, dank at
Yeah.
kegel.com.
And Kegel. Okay, tell me one more time.
It's
DAN.
DANK at kegel.com, KEGEL.
Okay. All right. Dank at kegel.com. Got it. Okay, I'll send that over right now. And then you guys
Thank
can
you.
send it to Laura.
Do you want us to CC you, Jenny, or just send it straight to Laura?
Both,
You could just send it straight to Laura.
or straight to me, fine.
It doesn't
Whatever.
matter. It doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah.
I
It's
gotcha.
just that you have to print it on the agenda.
Yeah, I'm sending it over as soon as we hang up. Okay.
Thank you.
So
Thank you,
Dan
guys.
Bear, thank you for coming to two
Thank you
meetings
so
this
much,
month.
Dan.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Dan, why did you want to torture yourself on a Saturday afternoon?
I was actually already on a Zoom this morning, but I've been trying to get on the HPOZ board, and then I was with the Friends of Jefferson Park HPOZ, and then I talked to Lizzie. Lizzie mentioned some positions open, so I was just kind of curious to see
Oh, yes.
everything that goes on.
You live in the right neighborhood of Jefferson Park to
Yeah.
tell the, but a lot of positions are open because we have an election. But anyway.
Yeah, I sat in on the election session thing this morning, so.
Oh, so if we have someone interested for Jefferson Park, maybe we should consider.
Dan, you're not going anywhere. You're going to join this board.
Right, but I do know that Dan did apply for the HPOZ and they have a vacancy again, but it's a different category, right?
Oh, well, it's just because the CD10 changed, so they haven't made an appointment, nor do they have that on their agenda to even consider it. So it's just been sitting there for a while.
Oh, well, I can add, it's Mary Jones and Carly Katona. I can ask them, but I'm not going to ask them this right now. We're asking them to take some major action as a result of that hire. So I will defer, but we now have some better contacts with them.
Wonderful. No, I would appreciate that.
So
awesome. Great to meet you.
Nice meeting you, Dan.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hope we didn't scare you away.
Nah, it's all good. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
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 Bye, everybody.